Couple things that I run across frequently, and then so we'll kind of get into it here. So let me jump into SolidWorks here, and I'm going to go ahead and get into a sketch here. So I'll ask you guys, if you're SolidWorks users, are there times when you're drawing lines and sometimes you have to hit the escape button to stop drawing lines so you can go turn the line tool back on so you can draw another line? You know what I'm talking about?
Phase gestures.
What's that?
Phase gestures to turn it on.
Okay, regardless, you still have to turn it off and turn it on, right? So, and that's one of the things that we can get into here. So let me show you this. It's one of those things that it's kind of our open secrets that we have here that I'm trying to bring. But even here, if I need to draw a couple of lines, notice I never had to re-gesture for the line. I never have to cancel out of anything. I mean, does anybody know how I did that up here? See, this is why I bring this up. So back in 1995, so let's go ahead and come through here. I'm going to go to the line command, and I'm going to show you two different things. I'm going to, continue to draw lines, and I'm going to individually draw lines. And the way I'm able to do that isn't because of the command that I'm using. It's not some secret little, button hit on my keyboard. It's actually how I'm utilizing the mouse. So if we jump back to the presentation here, we have click drag versus click click, all right? So basically, click click is what we usually do, and what it does is it puts us into this mode where we get a rubber band. So I click the mouse, I can move my mouse around, do whatever. I have the little rubber band on there. I'm going to go ahead and click again. That's going to start to continue the line creation there. So it will continue to create lines until I close out the profile. So once I click an active end, we can see that stops drawing lines, but it keeps us in the command. Make sense? All right, the other methodology is what we call click drag. Means I push the button down, leave it down, stretch the line to wherever I need it, and let go of it, and you won't get the rubber band effect. You're gonna get this line command still, but now you can draw a couple of parallel lines or perpendicular or whatever you need to at that time. Kind of cool? All right, so stay away from the canceling, the right click cancel, the hit escape cancel, or anything like that. If you find yourself restarting that command, just remember the whole click click versus click drag. Good deal? All right, the other one that we have here is tangent arcs on the fly. All right, so if I go back to my AutoCAD roots, I could start with drawing two lines and going through two circles and getting these to do whatever they need to, throw in some restraints, do whatever. And yeah, we do have a slot tool here that I can do that with, but the slotless tool doesn't cover every aspect of where I might need a tangent arc and stuff like that. Now, the problem with this command is most of the time when people run into it, they think something happened. They think they hit a button, they think they clicked something wrong, but actually I'll show you the secret here. So if I was gonna draw a slot without using the slot tool, I would start by drawing a line, right? And then when I have that other line here and I need to turn that into a tangent arc, not just an arc, it has to be tangent, I move my mouse pointer back to where the line started. I don't click a button, I don't push anything, but now when I sweep out, I'll now have a tangent arc. So I can come around and quickly put that in, do the swing out, come around. Now, the problem you might run into is when you swing it out, you might swing it out the wrong way. No need to hit escape and redo it. You simply move your mouse back and you pull it in the right direction that you're looking for just by resetting it. Again, no button clicks, no bounce clicks, nothing. Now, it used to be back in the day, we would challenge the newbies that would come in and we'd say, hey, I need you to draw a curved slot. And they start getting in with drawing circles that are concentric to each other, and put in no circles that tangent to the inner and the outer, and then they do a bunch of trimming and all that good stuff. But quite frankly, if you use the line tool, you could come in and do a curved slot fairly quickly there, depending on what you're looking for. So I could just keep on coming around, and worst case scenario, I can delete that line, and now I have a curved slot on there. Needs a little bit of touching up and stuff like that, but again, that is all drawn with the line tool, right? Other conditions it works out really good for is if you have like a tombstone shape, and we can easily pull that around. And then the nice part is that we can compile these on top of each other. So I could come in with a curved tangent curve, and then keep on drawing tangent curves on whatever I need to do there. Kind of nice? Did anybody know about that function? Oh, good, okay. All right, so the other thing is if you inadvertently cause an arc to come out, you can hit the A key to cancel that once you move your mouse a little bit. So again, don't hit escape, go back to the command, all that good stuff. And two of you guys have identified yourself as ones I'm gonna ask harder questions to. All right. Sketch Expert. Has anybody ever heard of it? Now, if you look at SolidWorks, there's actually quite a few expert tools that are available. We have a fillet expert, we have a draft expert, we have a made expert, we have a couple of different expert tools. Basically, what they run on is something that we call SWIFT, which means SolidWorks Intelligent Feature Technology. It's a black box. I'm a support representative for SolidWorks as well too, and I'm still cringing on the day that the expert tools fail because we have no idea how they work to begin with. All we know is there's some weird algorithms going on in the background, and they've worked pretty well over the last 16 or so years. So I guess we don't have to worry about it as much, but you never know, right? So let's talk about it, and this is actually good, especially if you're training newer users in the software. And go ahead and bring up a part here. And it comes down to, one of the issues that we run into is that we're dealing with a logic system when we're doing sketches, when we're doing features. And the logic system is that line has to be that long, and that line has to be parallel or perpendicular to this, and these arcs are concentric, and this arc is tangent to this. So we have to put a bunch of rigid rules in the way that the geometry has to work. And the problem that you run into is because it's a logic system, it doesn't take a lot to throw the logic system into a loop, and then SolidWorks starts to whine and cry and all that good stuff. This is you make a change and you have a bunch of red and yellow in your feature manager, right? So let's look at a small case that we might run into, again, with sketches being kind of the primmost things that we get into. And we'll talk more about design intent, but when I take a look at this, I need to make a change, and the change I have to make is this arc and this line have to be tangent to each other, all right? Now, if I do math, I can figure out that subtracting 25 from 120, if I change that dimension to whatever that number is, that would put it in line, but that just makes the arc and the line look tangent, it doesn't make them tangent, all right? So in this particular case, I'm gonna go ahead and do exactly what I said I needed to do. I have to make these tangent here. So the issue that I have is I have a fully defined sketch that I'm adding yet more definition to, and that is the definition of over-defining it. Make sense? All right. Now, the secret here is right down here where it says that I'm over-defined at the bottom. And if I look at it, it says, hey, click to resolve the conflict. And what they're telling me to do is actually click the over-define marker down here, and that's going to trip me into what we call the sketch expert. In fact, let me magnify this so we can see it. So when I take a look at it, it basically is saying, hey, you have problems, let me help you diagnose them. So I'm going to go ahead and hit diagnose, and then what occurs here is SolidWorks will then pop up and say, hey, I found 5 solutions for you, okay? So when I zoom out to it, the first one, it says, get rid of the tangency. Well, that's not what I'm looking for. That's what I want, right? So I'm gonna go, that's not a good solution. I'm gonna go to the next solution here, and it's gonna go get rid of the horizontal line. If that line's not made to be horizontal or vertical, then it can swing it over. Not what I'm looking for. The other one is get rid of the dimension. If you get rid of that dimension, it's no longer locating the circle. Now the tangency can be met at that point. And then for grins and giggles, and this is the one I want, right? When you find the one you like, you can come down here, hit accept, and you're on your way again, all right? The nice thing I like about this is it does show you what you currently have and what you would end up getting if you accepted it as well too. So you're not accepting anything blindly at this time. Now, another one is reduce the size of the circle. It can meet the criteria. And then finally, the other one would be to break it away from the edge so you can move the line out. I like number 3, so I'm gonna go back to number 3. I'm gonna hit the accept, and then basically you get a nice little green mark up here that says, hey, we found a valid solution, hit OK, and you're on your way. The only thing we have to do is make sure that you have to do a rebuild. There's a graphical hangover into 2024 on my computer. So again, these are things, the problems that we have when we get into parametric systems is this logic that's in there. And when it goes bad, sometimes it's not the most obvious thing. This one is just a couple lines. We probably could have sussed it out in a couple minutes, but probably the best case I had was someone decided it'd be a really good idea to draw a gear in a sketch. And I'm talking like every single tooth. We were dealing roughly with about 300 line elements, arcs, lines, all that good stuff. You can imagine the amount of dimensions that were on it already, and the amount of relationships were ridiculous. And so the guy calls up and says, I'm having a problem. I'm like, send it to me. I open it up, edit the sketch, went, holy crap, went out, did some drinking, came back. And then I tried to put the one dimension. They needed one dimension. That's all they needed was one dimension put in there. They knew it was going to answer the whole question. Everything was going to be finished. And every time you did it, it says it's overdefined. I don't play hide and seek in SolidWorks. Like, I just clicked that button down there, popped up, there was 30 different solutions. And I'm going through, and all of a sudden I found out that one line on one end of the, one side of the gear, and another line on the other side of the gear had to be perpendicular to each other. And I'm like, why would those ever be perpendicular? I'm like, get rid of that, solved it right away, sent it back. Overall, from the time I hung the phone up, got the file, opened it up, did some drinking, came back, we were talking about probably about 11 minutes of drink fast. Sent the part back to him, and he was just like, how did you find this out? I've been using SolidWorks since 1995, blah, 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 right? I didn't tell him that I used it because I also know that he never took any of our training classes, and he was bragging about how he's such a great user and da, 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 da. And I'm like, all right. Unfortunately, he became a story in my classes. Use the tool, don't be that guy, da, 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 da. Which worked great until the guy showed up for a class finally. And then I told the story, and he's like, you were the guy I was on the phone with. Like, I don't talk about that all the time. It just happened to be today that you were here. All right, so great tool. You only have to remember to go down to the bottom when you do get the overdefined state. Yes, sir?
Did it add the tangency sketch relation?
Yeah, the tangency is still there, so you can see it up here.
Okay, it just wasn't displayed. So
Yep, so definitely.
And Ryan, that only works with overdefined sketches?
Yeah.
Okay.
What else do you want it to work with?
Some magic button for underdefined sketches?
Oh, that would be...
Maybe later, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
you could tell it to fully define it then.
Yeah, right, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We do have a nice little button right here that says add relations, and then there's another one, I think they got rid of it, but oh yeah, there is a fully defined sketch option.
Yeah, I don't want to take you off your agenda. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My message to all my students is it's black and it says fully defined. And then when I teach sketches, I go through 3 distinct phases. This is a little off key, but this is good for you guys teaching other people. I go through 3 distinct phases in a sketch. First phase, get the geometry on the screen. You need a rectangular shape, get a rectangle shape on there. You need a tombstone shape, you need a shape, whatever it may be, get it up on the screen first. Don't worry about angles, don't worry about size, don't worry about any of that. The second step is to test the geometry, which then you will start grabbing blue points, not lines, but points, and then grab them and move them. Don't move a little bit, move them around. That's gonna show you what's going on. If I have a line that's supposed to be vertical, and I grab a blue point and all of a sudden it's waving in the wind, well then that should direct me to go, oh, this needs to be vertical. So we don't have a tool that does it. Unfortunately, that's not unfortunately, Inventor, Autodesk Inventor, apparently they have a function that you can click it and it auto moves the stuff on the screen. And I'm always like, I kind of want that functionality. So, but the last phase after you test the geometry is then to put the dimensions on. And what this really gets away from is sometimes if you don't test the geometry, you may be missing a relationship. Even though that arc and line look like they're tangent, they're not tangent, right? And so you'll put the dimensions on, but you'll still have blue geometry. So the first response of most people using SolidWorks is throw more dimensions on. they throw one dimension on, or defines that they delete that, they throw a different kind of dimension on, and all of a sudden everything turns black, but now they have extra information in their sketch that's not needed. But I found if you go through the distinct phases, draw it, test it, then dimension it, it gets rid of that quite a bit. And you have a better understanding of how your sketch is going to update as it moves around. Kind of cool? All right, so no special button, but definitely a mindset. So let's get in. Oh, that was gonna cause a problem. Hey. All right, so I just started learning how to use computers yesterday. 3D Sketch Basics. This is one that I run into quite a bit as far as students coming in, and they may be getting into sweeping, or they're getting into routing, or they're just trying to do something in a 3D sketch. And I find a lot of times people don't know what the magic button in a 3D sketch is. Does anybody know what the magic button in a 3D sketch is? Tab key. So yeah, peach out just slightly, right? All right, so let's talk